Yo, 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 this is Mr. O. Yo, 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 this is Mr. O. And today we're going to learn about radical equation. Radical equation is that solving an equation involvement of radical sign. This could be in a square root, cube root, or an expression raised to x to the 1/3. Okay, they're all involved to a radical equation. And here are the steps in solving radical equation. Number one, isolate the radical on one side of the equation. Meaning to say, if you have like here example number one, I have 10 plus square root of a plus 7 equals 11. Don't just jump and solve it. You have to isolate this portion here. So I need to move this 10 to the other side by subtracting 10 here, subtracting 10. That makes our square root of a plus 7 is equal to 1, and the square root of a plus 7 is isolated. Okay. Number two, raise each side of the equation to the power of the index. On this case here, example number one, I have a square root. The index here is 2. That's invisible. We all know that one. So I have to raise both sides of the equation by 2 because the index is 2. The idea there is that this will cancel the square root, the radical sign, and the squared. So if that was a cube root, I have to raise the third power, okay, in order for me to eliminate the square root. Likewise, if I square the left side, I have to square the other side. So in this case, it will be just now a plus 7. What's 1 squared? 1 squared is just 1. Solve the remaining equation. So minus 7 here, minus 7 there. That will give us a is equal to 1 minus 7 is negative 6. And then that's our solution. But hold on, you have to check your work because there are cases that you have answer correctly, but when you plug it back to the equation, it doesn't satisfy the equation. And these are called the extraneous solution. An answer done correctly, but when you plug it back, it doesn't make sense. Okay. For example, in this case here, I'm going to plug in negative 6 to the problem. That will give us 10 plus square root of negative 6 plus 7 is equal to 11. So here, what is negative 6 plus 7? It's going to be square root of 1 equals 11. What's square root of 1? Square root of 1 is just 1. So 10 plus 1 is equal to 11. On this case, 11 equals 11. That is a true statement. So the answer is a equals negative 6 is correct. Okay, so we do not have here an extraneous solution. So our answer a equals negative 6 is correct. Kaboom. Let's go to the next one here. So square root, again, there's invisible to there. 6w minus 5 plus 10 equals 3. Again, the first step is to isolate. So for me to isolate, I need to move the 10 to the other side. Minus 10 here, minus 10 there. That will give us square root of 6w minus 5 is equal to negative 7. On this case, the index is 2, so I'm going to raise it to the second power on both sides. Make sure you put parentheses there. This cancel out, so 6w minus 5 is equal to 49. So for the w, add 5 there. 6w is equal to 54 divided by 6 divided by 6 there. W is equal to 9. That's the answer. All the work algebraically are correct. Let's check our answer by plugging the W equals 9 to the problem. So square root of 6 times 9 minus 5 plus 10 is it equal to 3? 6 times 9 is 54 minus 5 is square root of 49 plus 10. Would that be equal to 3? Square root of 49 is 7 plus 10 equals 3. 7 plus 10 is 17. Are they equal? Is this a true or a false statement? It's a false statement, so therefore it's an extraneous solution, so no solution for this one here. Okay, very simple. Next, 7p minus 1/3 plus 11 equals 7. Okay, you can rewrite this one here in a radical form, or you can keep it 1/3. Okay, since we all know that 7p minus 1 raised to the 1/3 is the same thing as cube root of 7p minus 1, I can keep it that way. Okay, plus 11 equals 7. Again, we know that we have to isolate the radical sign, or move that 11 to the other side by subtracting 11, subtract 11. That give us cube root of 7p minus 1 is equal to negative 4. Now we have to raise it now into third power because the index is on the third. So cancel that out. This will be 7p minus 1 is equal to negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 is negative what? 64. Add 1 on both sides there. I'll give you 7p equals negative 63. Divide by 7p is equal to negative 9. Plug in our problem. You can plug it right here in this p here or on this one here. It doesn't really matter, okay? So let me put it in cube root of 7 times negative 9 minus 1 plus 11. Would that be equal to 7? Question mark. 7 times negative 3 is 7 times negative 9, I mean, is negative 63 minus 1 is cube root of negative 64. Plus 11 there, plus 11 there is equal to 7, equals 7. Cube root of negative 64 is negative 4, plus 11 equals 7. And the answer there is 7. Since they are equal, that means our p equals negative 9 is correct. Kaboom. Example number 4. Fourth root of 27 minus 2d is equal to fourth root of d minus 3. Here is really very simple. If both sides of the equation have radical sign that are perfectly the same index and there's nothing beside them anymore, here is very simple. You just have to raise to the fourth power and raise to the fourth power. Look what happened, guys. When you raise the fourth power, this cancel out, that cancel out. No radical sign involved or left. It will just be 27 minus 2d equals d minus 3. And just solve it like a linear equation. So I'm going to move the 27 to the other side. This will give me negative 30. I'm going to subtract d here, subtract d there. This cancel out. This will give me negative 3d equals negative 30. Divide everything by negative 3. The answer is 10. You can check your answer again by plugging the d equals 10. Fourth root of 27 minus 2 times 10. Would that be equal to the fourth root of 10 minus 3? 27 minus 20 is going to be 7, and 10 minus 3 is 7. They're perfectly the same. You cannot simplify it anymore, but the important thing, it's a true statement, and they are perfectly the same. So therefore, d equals 10 is correct. Kaboom. Next, cube root of 14 minus 10n equals negative 2 cube root of n. The difference between example number 5 and example number 4, there are no numbers outside the radical sign for both sides of the equation. Unlike here, I have a negative 2. So what I'm going to do here, you will do the same thing. You will raise to the third power because the index is 3 or cube root. So this cancel out. We know that this will be 14 minus 10n. The only difference is that, remember, there's a negative 2 outside here, okay, of the cube root. There's an invisible 1 on the 2, so you have to also raise this one to the third power and this one here. Okay, so let's go first with what we know. We know that 3 times 1 is 3 times 1 is 3, so this will be negative 2 to the third power. And when you raise this cube root by n to the third power, that cancel out. So this will just be an n here. Okay, the only thing that we added is this portion here, okay, because that's the number outside the radical sign. Okay, so anyway, let's continue. 14 minus 10n. What is negative 2 to the third power? Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 8n. The rest is just solving linear equation. Plus 10n here, plus 10 here. Let's see, 14 equals 2n, so therefore 7 is equal to n. Now let's plug it back the value of n to check. Okay, so cube root of 14 minus 10 to the 7th is equal to negative 2 cube root of 7. 14 minus 10 times 7 is cube root of 14 minus 70. And this will be 56, negative 56. Okay. A cube root of negative 56 can still be broken down. 56 can be broken down to 7 and 8. 8 can be broken down to, hold on. Cube root of negative 56, it's an odd index and this is negative. So therefore, I can bring out a negative 1 and the cube root of 56 here. Okay, just remember that. So now I can bring down the 56 to 7 and 8. 8 can bring it to 4 and 2. 4 can bring it to 2 and 2. I have three 2's there because the index is 3. That means I can move the 2 outside and be multiplied to the negative 1. That makes it negative 2 cube root of how much? How much is left here? 7. Then drop this down here. Are they equal, guys? Yes, they are equal. It's a true statement. So therefore, n equals 7 is correct. Okay. All right. For our last example here, example number 6. Square root, okay, the invisible there is 2. 12 minus a, then outside it is 7a equals 8a. Again, we all know from the steps that we have to isolate the radical expression by moving this to the other side. So we have square root of 12 minus a equals minus 7a here. That gives you just 1a or just a. Now, what do we need to do here? The index there is 2, so we have to square it, and we have to square this. When we square that one, this cancel out. That gives us 12 minus a equals a squared. And since here I see an a squared, I will have a quadratic equation here. So in quadratic equation, one side has to be equal to 0. So I'm going to move this portion here to the other side by subtracting 12. Subtract 12 here. So adding a here. That makes my equation equal 0, or a squared plus a minus 12. And doing this one here, if you remember the baby factoring, we can factor this in order for us to solve for the a. A squared will just be an a and a. A times a is a squared. The invisible number here is 1. So what two numbers, when you multiply them, gives you a negative 12. When you add them, gives you a positive 1. Very easy. 4 and 3. The 4 is positive, 3 is negative, because when you add them, it has to be equal to 1. So this will be positive 4, and this will be negative 3. And solving this, the zero factor property theorem, you're going to have to split them into two. A plus 4 is equal to 0. A minus 3 is equal to 0. Solving for the variable a equals negative 4 here, and a is equal to positive 3. And we have to check our answer before we declare that both of them are the correct answer. We're going to plug it back to the problem. 12 minus negative 4 plus 7 times negative 4 is equal to 8 times negative 4. Remove this one. Negative times negative will give us a positive. So that would be positive square root of 16. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28 is equal to negative 32. What's square root of 16? Square root of 16 is 4. 4 plus negative 28 equals negative 32. That will give us negative 24. And they're not equal. So therefore, this is not an answer. Then let's try the other one. Square root of 12 minus 3 is equal to, no, there's a plus. 7 times 3 is equal to 8 times 3. 12 minus 3 is going to be a 9. 7 times 3 is 21. 8 times 3 is 24. We know square of 9 is 3. 3 plus 21, will that be equal to 24? Yes, they are going to be the same. So therefore, a equals 3 is the only answer here. And that's why it is really important to check the extraneous solution. Okay? And again, and that's how you solve radical equation. And I hope you learned something. As always, kaboom!